Good morning. So I'm kind of still discussing how this Michael Dukakis, Bernie Sanders, Ralph Nader presidency can really last from Jimmy Carter up to today, and which is where we are right now, which is when our country has to change. There's no other course of action. And so I was just really discussing how Bernie Sanders and Ralph Nader, being that there is energy in our planet, futures in energy, futures in economy and energy, right? And energy being really important to how our planet, and any planet most probably runs, right? Energy being a fundamental function of how our world works, and one that we depend on, and one that we want to be more reliant on rather than just this kind of burn and expense kind of way we use energy. So that was really, really fascinating because I was looking at how Bernie Sanders and Ralph Nader could go. So I did the Karate Kid thing. So I was like, Jimmy Carter was the last president. In 2016, I'm like, this is Jimmy Carter's spot. This is Jimmy Carter's spot. This is Jimmy Carter's spot. So finally, God may his soul rest in peace, President Carter passed on December 29th to 2024, which was 8 years of this span of time that I'm like, this is Jimmy Carter's spot, this is Jimmy Carter's spot, this is Jimmy Carter's spot. Not really understanding all of what it was going on. I just kind of was knowing that about myself. He died at 100. Now, he was the president between 1977 and 1981. So if President Carter died at 100 in 2024, and I spent 8 years defending that position, and I knew that his presidency was from 77 to 81, then I might be able to say Michael Dukakis, 1989, look who's talking too, right? Now, in order to fix this Made in China fiasco, we also had to go through and do Karate Kid simulation at the same time with Ralph Macchio being the first Karate Kid, but then the next president after Michael Dukakis is Ralph Nader. So Ralph Nader has the name of Ralph Macchio, which is the Karate Kid that came before Ralph Nader during the Michael Dukakis time. Now so I'm going to Michael Dukakis because 8 years, 81 to 89. Now, if Michael Dukakis is president 8 years, that brings me to 1996, 1997. And then that presidency I wouldn't touch. Why? Because it goes over 1999 and then 2001. And 1999 is Y2K. And as I was explaining everything, even CMYK and RGB and all this stuff, this is important as well. So we don't touch it. We jump over and we go to the next one, which is 2001, which is when I voted for Ralph Nader. But at the same time, there's a parallel timeline. This is when I worked for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a campaign in the district, not for her, I'm sorry, I didn't work for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I was working for the Broward County Democrats, in which I campaigned for her. And I voted for Ralph Nader. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. And then at the time, also, I was involved with the same campaign that handled the voting ballot boxes, the voting machines. Now, I was not involved in any of it. I was actually kind of around the controversy, but not involved in the controversy. In so much that the campaign manager I worked with with the lobbyists that made these voting ballot machines. That was the recount of the Florida recount at the same time. And her name is Miriam Oliphant, which comes to my second identity, Miriam and Oliphant. But at any rate, so I was working with Debbie Wasserman, the Broward Democrats at that time, with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So then I can see how Bernie Sanders and Ralph Nader now become presidents both at the same time, and kind of this time distortion is really amazing because it allows us to do this. So 2001, Ralph Nader, let's say Ralph Nader was president until 2009. Right? Which was the year before the last Karate Kid came out, which was Jaden Smith, which is my last name. Now, then that would also put then Bernie Sanders at 2009 into the next 8 years, which is 2016. But I voted for Bernie Sanders was 2016 when he actually ran for elections. So he is able to be this kind of non-president during 2009 to 2016. And the presidential candidate that I've been saying I voted for Bernie Sanders since 2016 to today. But what's funny is that the issue of Ralph Nader has come up now when it really should have come up in 2016. So I'm back at Ralph Nader, 2001, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Miriam Oliphant, and that's them. I'm Michael Dukakis, Ralph Nader. I'm heading out of Michael Dukakis, skipping over 2001 and skipping over 1990, that 4 years. Those whatever 4 years that is, skipping over them, going right to Ralph Nader because it's controversial. You don't want to hit him. There's too much going on. And then going to Ralph Nader with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's the head of the Democrats, which nobody should have any problem with. And then, this is Democrats. If I'm saying we're creating an alternate reality in which this is how it works, only people that would be interested in are people that are trying to sabotage our country and our country's legacy. So then, which I do believe is actually transpiring. So Ralph Nader, and so then I was also commenting, so here's my adding to this today. I think this plan can really work because they're invested in the same ethos, which is really the one fundamental thing that can kind of give them continuity, which is renewable energy and greening America and making, invested in these types of ideals, right? Ralph Nader is really, really, really smart on electrification, on renewable energy, and this kind of thing. Now, if I know that energy and motion and energy and futures and energy and money and renewable energy and green energy and these energies these guys are invested in are really the future, then there is also that potential that these guys having the same ethos about renewable energy, that being the common line that can carry them through, even and social progress as well. So social progress with the green energy ethos can kind of really transcend and cut through physical material existence, in such a way that we are ensuring that a renewable energy plan can be a renewable energy plan on its own because it's energy, independently of anybody doing anything because of what renewable energy is, regenerative energy, and these types of renewable energy systems. So we're really extending what nature does, creating renewable, clean, free energy systems from it, and saying these guys have the ethos that carry that through, and knowing in there that all these things can probably do something. Sit down a little bit more and kind of work my theory out. But this is futures energy, real renewable energy that gets you. It's not this burn gas that you have to go refill, and it doesn't have the renewing aspect to it. These guys are invested in it, have formed a plan for electrification of renewable energy, are invested in everything, understand it, so even just their ethos can carry through a common lineage for our country's progress and take us in a certain direction, and know that it's functioning at that kind of basic fundamental, that in itself can just go woof, not much. It can kind of cut through a lot of things, decisions that would be the decision that needed to be made, and then you think there's this whole potential energy and potential that exists, and just kind of manifesting this physics and alchemy working at the same time, Another thing is in quantum as well. And so quantum renewable energy and algorithms working, and the power of imagination, and power of belief, and power of self-creation, which I have mastered during this time. So I have mastered this power of self-creation. And in this mastery of self-creation, I can see like, hey, I can just take these guys' ideology for our country, which is renewable energy, and I know that just on that we can run it clean, and we don't have to go and have like everybody be there and the government run and Senate and agencies run. I can just be like, these guys, America, renewable energy America, and it just run on that and get us places, because there's this like competition, and he can get there further, fastest, energy, future, control, time, power, money. And so these, I think, are ways that we can do that, because when we're arriving there, we're not only doing free energy, which makes the guys with the money from the past not have so much money, or their money not be as relevant in the future, because we're focusing on renewable energies and disconnecting ourselves from old energy money. And then we can kind of zoom towards that place, wait till we catch up to it in certain terms, and kind of shed and at some point just drop the load, because we know we have this renewable energy propelling us kind of on its own that can push us there and drop the stuff that isn't off when it's taxed out or it's reached its capacity, which shouldn't be much longer, because it's just not going to work. It's just not the future. It's not renewable. It's not regenerative. It's not competent with the way things should work in line with our human progress and the planet's progress and our understanding of energy. I mean, I'm working 0 point energy and thinking about imagining like flying vessels with 0 point energy and free energy for homes and things like that. So the era of abundance is coming, and there's and then all this money that I've discovered as well. And so I think that that's going to work. And so the Ralph Nader Bernie Sanders thing went from 2009 to 2016, was already Bernie Sanders somehow, Ralph Nader, but then we just looped around back to Ralph Nader again. But at the same time, we're also at Michael Dukakis. So we're Michael Dukakis, Ralph Nader. But presently, it seems like, and then I would be in the Bernie Sanders, I voted for Bernie Sanders timeline because of what's transpiring. But I know we've kind of looped around back to where Ralph Nader would be president or non-president, and I can take his ideology without having to drag every American through some sort of alternate reality and playing out some sort of civil war between those who don't want this and those that do. I can really kind of take the plan, run with it, not drag everybody through the war that would stop us from being able to do this, and somehow get there in some utopian future, and know that we're just getting there, and we're just kind of dumping off these old mechanisms along the way, but that this kind of clean, renewable, clear future, which is really based on renewable energy. You see what I'm saying? They're renewable energy. We're talking about energy future. Energy is going to renew itself, regenerate itself. It's going to get itself on its own there on the basis of this ethos. And they're, so yeah, this is in the quantum, in the field of possibilities, and so on and so forth. And so I believe that there are, and this is what we can do. Yeah.